The sun was just breaking over the eastern mountains, spilling its golden light onto the quiet village of Sarinapura. A gentle mist curled above the river, and the smell of wet earth mixed with wood smoke from early morning fires. In a small hut by the riverbank lived Ananda, a young fisherman's son of 23. Life had been simple for him: catch fish at dawn, sell them in the market, eat rice with his mother, and sleep. But lately, something stirred restlessly in his heart. For 3 nights in a row, he had the same dream: a lotus flower blooming in a pond of thick mud. Each time he reached out to pluck it, his hand passed through it like smoke, and the flower dissolved into light. He awoke each time with a strange feeling that the dream was calling him, though he didn't understand why. One morning, while mending his nets, Ananda saw an old monk approaching the riverbank. His robe was faded saffron, patched in places, and his head was shaven. He carried nothing but a wooden alms bowl and a walking stick. The monk smiled warmly. "May I have a drink of water, young man?" Ananda fetched a ladle from the boat and filled it from the river. The monk drank slowly, as if savoring each drop. "You drink water," the monk said, "but do you taste it, or only swallow it?" Ananda frowned. "What's the difference?" The monk chuckled. "The difference is the whole of life. If you rush to swallow, you miss the coolness on your tongue, the way it quenches your thirst, the gift it gives you. If you live like that, always swallowing without tasting, you will reach the end of life wondering if you ever truly lived." Ananda didn't know how to reply. But something in the monk's words felt like the dream's voice. The teaching of the first step: mindfulness. The monk introduced himself as Venerable Suriya, a disciple of the Buddhist path. He explained, mindfulness is the beginning. It is the art of being fully present. Without it, you are like a boat drifting with no oar, at the mercy of the current. That day, Ananda accompanied Suriya to the village square. The monk watched the villagers shouting prices, bargaining fiercely, rushing from stall to stall. "See how their minds are elsewhere," he said. "They think only of gain and loss, and so they miss the miracle of the morning." The monk gave him a task. "For one whole day, when you eat, only eat. When you walk, only walk. When you listen, only listen. Let the river of your mind run clear, not muddy." Ananda tried. At first, it was frustrating. His thoughts kept wandering to the weight of his nets, the coins in his pouch, the dream's strange lotus. But by evening, he noticed something. The rice his mother cooked had a sweetness he'd never noticed. The sound of crickets after sunset seemed almost like a song. A week later, a sudden storm swept through Sarinapura. The river swelled, flooding the fishing boats. Ananda's boat, his livelihood, was torn from its moorings and smashed against the rocks downstream. He was devastated. "All my work, gone in a single night," he said bitterly. Venerable Suriya took him to the riverbank and pointed at the receding flood. "The river changes every moment," he said. "So does the sky, the seasons, and your own body. Everything that arises will pass away. This is anicca, impermanence. Suffering comes when we believe things will last forever." "But how can I not suffer?" Ananda asked, "when something I need is gone?" "Do not cling to the boat," the monk replied. "Cling instead to the skills and the heart that built it. These remain with you." Ananda thought of the lotus in his dream blooming in mud, not in a clean pond. Maybe loss itself was the mud that made the flower possible. One evening, a group of villagers caught a thief stealing rice. The man was beaten and dragged to the edge of the square, where the headman prepared to exile him. Ananda recognized him Raju, a man whose wife had died last winter, leaving him with 2 hungry children. Everyone shouted for punishment, but Ananda stepped forward. "He is wrong," he said, "but hunger drives desperate acts. Let me give him work on my nets when the flood recedes." The crowd murmured in surprise. Suriya later told him, "That was karuna, compassion. When we see the suffering of others as our own, we dissolve the illusion that we are separate." That night, Ananda felt lighter than he had in weeks. A month passed, and with Suriya's guidance, Ananda repaired his nets and began fishing again. But now, a new desire took root to leave the village and travel with the monk, learning the Buddha's full path. One evening, Ananda confessed this to Suriya. The monk nodded. "It is good to seek the path. But beware of replacing one craving with another. The Buddha taught the middle way, neither drowning in indulgence nor starving in self-denial. Find the balance that keeps your heart clear." Ananda realized he could walk the path here in Sarinapura, tending the river and helping his people, instead of abandoning everything in search of wisdom elsewhere. One dawn, as Ananda hauled in his nets, he saw something caught in the maril lotus flower, its white petals bright against the dark river water. He lifted it carefully, water dripping from its stem. At that moment, he understood his dream. The lotus blooms not despite the mud, but because of it. His losses, his doubts, his daily struggles, all of them were the mud that nourished the growth of wisdom and compassion. He placed the lotus gently back into the river, letting it drift away. Years later, Ananda was known not just as a fisherman, but as a man whose presence calmed storms in people's hearts. He taught the children mindfulness by having them taste each bite of mango. He reminded grieving widows of impermanence with the turning of the seasons. He practiced compassion quietly, helping the poor without seeking praise. Venerable Suriya eventually moved on, but his last words to Ananda stayed with him. The lotus does not rush to bloom. It rises slowly, through the dark water, toward the light. So too does the heart, when tended with mindfulness, compassion, and the wisdom of letting go. The river kept flowing, and so did the path,